Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And today we're going to be discussing Parasite. I'm Mitch.
I'm Mur.
And I'm Jonathan.
I know that it came out last year in 2019, and it was presented at the Cannes Film Festival?
Canes.
Yeah. But it did really well, and it's been receiving a lot of positive feedback from the internet as well as film critics all around the world.
Yep, its budget was set somewhere around 11 million, and so far in the box office, it's made 131.4 million.
It also made got a Golden Globe Award for Best Foreign Film as well.
Yeah, which is the first Korean film to do that.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
He had a hilarious acceptance speech where he's like, if you can get over the 2-inch margins on the bottom there, you can get into some great films, as in like the subtitles.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who don't like reading subtitles for movies.
I don't like to read when I'm also trying to see things.
I never understood the argument for people who are like,
really
I can't
silly.
read the subtitles. I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much success around this movie right now. They're going to be making an HBO series about it.
Oh, they are? I didn't know that.
They're going to be cutting it up into parts.
Like, just to explain more about what's going on
I have
between?
no idea. I didn't really read up on it. I just saw that it was announced the other day. And, like, some people are thinking, what if they redo it with American people? But I don't think it will.
I sure hope not.
I don't think it will do as well if they do that.
No, because all the actors they have in this movie are really good in their roles.
Yeah, they kill it.
Yes.
What is the director of the film? I don't think I can pronounce his name correctly.
It is Bong Joon-ho. And yeah.
He also made The Host, right?
Yes, he did. The Host is a great movie.
And Snowpiercer, I believe.
Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do...
Snowpiercer? What?
Yeah.
He doesn't do too well with American movies with, like, English, but, like, when he does Korean films, he does a good job.
Yeah.
And so, like, he said that he wanted to go back to doing a Korean film for his next project.
He also did Okja.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that was the other one he did.
Okja was pretty good.
That movie's so sad.
It really fucking
It's
is.
so sad. It's like one of the saddest movies. It's on Netflix, I think. It's still there.
Yeah, I believe it's like premiered on Netflix.
Yeah, that was like one of those straight to Netflix kind of specials. And then, like you mentioned, he wanted to go back to make another Korean film. But he also wanted to make something that was relatable to anybody outside of Korea as well. So the city that they're in, the place that they're in, could be any like real urban city that's overcrowded. And so that's what he decided to do. I mean, I feel like this whole movie, like we can definitely go through some of the main things that happened, but it was just such a large piece of social commentary on like the class system that happens in most countries, especially the difference between being ultra wealthy and really poor, or like close to the poverty line, and which was really happening with the main family. I guess it's the Kim family. And so just seeing that was something that was just all throughout the film. And it went from almost like a comedy at the beginning into like a straight thriller and horror towards the end. I mean,
this family is like so destitute that when they're having a bug problem and like the city comes to spray around a different house, they're like, leave our windows open so that maybe we'll get some of the fumes in here.
Free fucking pest control.
I will say that part is pretty intense because the father is the only one that's like just chilling.
Yeah.
He's just like thinking about, or he's watching the video
on how to fold those pizza boxes.
Yeah, he's folding the pizza boxes at this point in the film too, I believe.
Yeah, so the beginning of the movie starts with them in their underground half basement house, I believe it is.
Yeah, it's like a sub basement house is what they call them.
They live in a poverty stricken neighborhood, and I think one of the bigger scenes is having one of the, not like bigger scenes, but the symbolic gesture of the socks hanging and drying in their house was a shot that they reused a lot. So I think they were trying to emphasize that because later on the smell comes into play with the entire vocation of the story.
Yeah, the dad from the richer family, the Park family, mentions that he mentions that there's a smell that comes off of Mr. Kim that he just isn't really sure what it is and describes it as radishes.
His younger son also does it as well. He saes like, oh, he smells the same. She smells the same.
Yeah.
And does things like that.
Quickly finds out that they're all the same family, but doesn't really know how to explain
He doesn't connect that.
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
He just thinks they all smell the same and thinks it's funny because he's a child.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
And they don't know what the hell he's talking about until the dad sort of mentions it later. And then he even smells it later in the house when they're like all hiding. But we'll get to all of that. Really, it's like they smell different just from living in that area that they were living in, which is like there's only one window or like two windows, I think, out to the outside, and it's like right by the sidewalk, like where people are walking.
I mean, another point to stress is that at one point in the movie they say, "Oh, they all use the same laundry detergent." So that was one of the big things, and I think that what they smell is the laundry detergent on them because the whole family shares it, so they all use the same one, so they all smell the same.
The movie starts with our main antagonist just trying to they're just eating dinner. The whole entire family is just eating dinner after the pizza box incident, where they're trying to get a little bit of money. They get paid
to put together pizza boxes so that the pizza place can like set them up on the side and then start using them for their business. But some of them are not being done so well, and so the person or the girl who's picking them up tells them that she's going to dock their pay by 10% because some of them are pretty awful. But they convince her, I think, or they're trying to convince her to let one of their younger sons work for that place because they found out someone else is not doing so well. But that was such a good scene when they're all crowding her and they're kind of like spilling off the screen. And it just shows how they end up taking control basically of the Park family later and like infiltrate all of the jobs related to them.
Which it's absolutely genius how they do it.
They're really good. They start off as like these really meticulous con artists basically who like are all in on it.
And it's not until they're introduced to the friend of the family who is also the tutor for the younger daughter of the rich people.
Yeah.
He believes that if he gives the daughter away to any random college frat boy, that it would demoralize her and like just make her a terrible person.
Well,
so that's why he entrusts tutoring to this person.
He also intends to ask her out when she hits university as well. So
yeah, this was like one of the areas of the film that I did not like because I was like, they were sort of like preparing her for her to like meet him and him only. So he's like, I can trust you, right? You're not gonna like have sex with her, right? And then like he ends up like getting involved with her anyway, but they're not like having sex or anything.
Yeah,
but it's still something that's weird because she's underage.
I feel like this is like a Korean culture thing as well, though, because that's not like having families and whatnot. That's not like untypical of that.
Probably
like, social,
yeah.
of that social group.
It was just something I was like, this is weird.
Yeah,
it's weird for Americans.
It's weird for Americans, but this is an Indian culture. It's in Chinese culture. It's in like a few of them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're just like, let's set it up so that our families can be. So let's merge our families. Like it can be kind of like feudal like that.
They do mention at some point that they could possibly bring the plan to where he marries her, and they like get brought into the family as like in-laws and whatnot. So it's definitely part of like a larger plan.
So it sets them up. It sets up this one single son to go to this house, and it's a very nice neighborhood. Their yard is absolutely beautiful, and it is accompanied by some really great windows. And he is greeted by the caretaker of the house, who explains that it was made by a rich architect who later passed, sold the house. And then in turn, she was able to keep her job as the next family bought the house.
Yeah, the previous architect who owned the house recommended her to the new family, and she ended up staying there. And you find out much later why she wants to stay in that house so badly.
As soon as that happens, we're introduced to the main wife character, who is actually very nice for a very rich
Oh, you mean
person.
the rich family?
Yes.
So I had a hard time placing people as far as like, are they good? Are they bad? Is this the antagonist? Is this the protagonist? Because they're all good and bad in their own ways, except for maybe the Park dad. He seemed evil no matter what. He was just like, he was kind of a dick.
Yeah, but it's not.
That
like,
was just personal.
It's
opinion.
not so in your face with him. I don't think though, because it's very much like he's just he's the breadwinner of the household, so he's got that air of arrogance about him.
Well, the reason I say it is because there's a moment between him and Mr. Kim when he like looks back at him while he's driving. And he's like, "Yeah, but you still love her." And like he looks back, he's talking about his wife, Park's wife, and he looks back at him and he pauses and he's like, "Yeah, sure, let's call it that." And then it moves on from there, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
shit!"
that's one of the big like the key okay, he's kind of shitty now.
After complaining that she's bad at cooking, she doesn't really do any housework, and so he's like, that's why we have this live-in maid, who he comments on that she eats for two, which is a great foreshadowing for what happens later in the film.
Shit.
That's a good. That's a good.
They did a lot of really good stuff.
I feel like because you have basically you get introduced to, you got the Kim family, you have like their like eldest son, and I guess he's ex-military.
Yes,
he was in the military at one point. And then his like buddy who's in college and is a tutor tells him about
Ki-woo is his name.
Ki-woo is his name. He essentially you're talking about, this is the outside family.
Yes, this is the Kim family.
Yes. So he comes to his buddy and says, you know, if you need work, I have this family I work for. I basically just mooch off of these rich people.
Yeah.
It's really easy. You just teach her English, and you already have experience because of your military background, and you've done the classes so many times, you can easily teach her. He says, sure, I'll go in and do that. It's great. And I love that that he gets with the sister of the Kims, who's it's his sister. It's not Ki-woo's sister. It's I don't know her name.
I believe her name is it Young? No, it is. Oh, it's Park Sodam, the Ki-jun. She is the sister character.
Is she the one who forges the documents?
Yeah, so it has to be explained that she does forge the documents for their professional papers.
Yeah.
So it says that they're from either Illinois University for herself, and then I forget, was it like Notre Dame or something for the other guy?
It was something recognizable.
Yeah, it was something recognizable, and she uses her very decent Photoshop skills to actually make some pretty decent
that was pretty funny.
papers. But the funny part is, what I really like is they don't care about documents. They're like, we could care less about, you know, what kind of schooling you've done. We want to see how you interact with our child and see how it goes.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, because that in part was they only went off of that recommendation from the first tutor who was there. But also, this is a great like metaphor for what people do when they're rich. You get into places because you get recommended, not because of your credentials. Yeah. And so almost all of the time they have recommendations for people, and they're going to get jobs and promotions and all of these things because you've been recommended. Yeah. As opposed to just getting it on your merit.
It happens a lot, especially within blue collar workers. I remember just a little sidebar right here. Like what would happen was a lot of blue collar workers will go to a technical school and they'll have the credentials to do the job. However, you're not the guy who is my friend or my cousin's friend who he recommends. So I'm going to look over you and hire this person.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens in all types of collars of work, but it is very much within rich person culture to say, oh yes, I know a person, here you go, here's their card, here's their number, you check them out and let me know how it goes.
I mean, the Kim family uses it kind of in the opposite way, where they get one person in the family, and because they think they're doing a good job, they can then recommend other members of the family for different jobs. And so they end up getting their whole family into jobs with the Park family. But it's not usually something you see happen very often unless they have to lie about it.
Yeah, it's pretty genius how they do it, because they bring in the eldest son from the Kim family and have him start tutoring her. Yeah. And then
that lesson is pretty good. The first one where he talks about how the heart doesn't lie and that she needs more vigor.
They're really good actors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is that they're acting on top of acting. They're like faking who the other person is in that scene, and he does have a really good lesson for her.
And I have to admit that the sister comes in, correct?
Yeah, he recommends his sister, but he doesn't say. He says, "Oh, I know another like an art therapy like teacher who would probably be great, because the son is their the Park's youngest son is like acting out, and he's really into Native American stuff."
Yeah, basically. When I watched this, I thought it was going to turn into like a Babadook thing, where he's like the only one who can see some sort of monster, and like he was hunting them, but it didn't turn out that way. Or something was wrong with him, and like he was definitely creepy.
I think he was just a kid with like ADHD or something.
Oh, you know what though? I have to say that the scene where they talk about when he saw a ghost is fucking fantastic. Where you see like the top of a head coming up from the staircase, and it's just like a brief moment that you see it, and it's terrifying.
Yeah. Those giant eyes, peering over
it was so good. I got to go back and pause it so I look at it.
It was talking about the people that live underground, like that guy?
It was the guy who was underneath.
Oh, dude, that's fucking
I think he was just trying to get up and like get something to eat, and just showed up when the kid was
he's
there.
He's a character in himself, too.
We'll definitely get to that guy. So basically, if you haven't seen it already, you should go watch it, and you'll find out that there's a family living underneath in like a bunker in that rich family's house, who is the husband of the previous housekeeper.
It is the husband of the caregiver that is in there in the beginning of the film. However, she is telling them that the architect made a bunker for them because of invasion from North Korea or
Yeah.
other kind of natural disaster. It is a panic room for that.
But he was embarrassed about it, so he like didn't tell the new owners about it.
Yeah. So, and that guy has been living under there for 4 years.
It's nuts.
Just living there.
It's going crazy.
He's comfortable though, is what he explains. He is comfortable with how he lives, but he does need to be fed.
Right. So the housekeeper was bringing food down to him, but his attitude was interesting because he even explains to the dad of the Kims that he looks up to the father for the Park family, and like he basically like greets him every time he comes in by activating one of the lights that's above the staircase when they walk in, and he's like literally underneath him. So it's like he's put into this position where he's not supposed to be enjoying his position and it's not doing so well, but still looks up to the sky and is very impressed with him.
He's impressed because he has sheltered and gave him food, is what he says.
Yeah, that's right. He says exactly that.
But the thing is, the guy doesn't even know. So
yeah, he doesn't even know he exists. That's why, like, even later when he's like, "Oh, hey, it's like Mr. Park," he's like, "Do I know you?" Like, he does not give a shit about him.
So after we get the intense,
the sister comes in,
lesson, right? The sister comes in, and right before that they go in, I love this. So she like does the same songy thing with him. Jessica, 24.
Yeah, to memorize where you're from.
No siblings. Blah 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 blah. And she's like, "Okay, I got it." And then it just goes into her explaining that she needs to do the lesson with her child alone.
Yes.
Because that's the thing. Like, it's kind of intense when you have to do a lesson in front of a parent, especially one that is high pain and high profile like that.
Yeah.
But she's like, no. I'm going to work with your kid, and I know art therapy, so, like, I know this. And she explains...
She fakes it all the way
that
through.
she just Googled, like, a couple phrases. And she talks about the painting on the wall that he made.
God, she convinces the mom that she can tell that the child has experienced some sort of trauma because of what he's been painting, and how there's like the same symbol that she sees at the bottom, which is probably just his signature. Yeah. But it's still like, she's like, "Oh, you see this? This is like corresponds with a certain part of the brain," and like he keeps putting it down in these, and convinced her that he needs to have like art therapy, basically.
Yeah. Also, she also tries to say, she says, "See all the painting here? This is the schizophrenic zone."
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I was like, that's a hawk of shit.
Yeah,
right
you're
there.
lying so hard.
Well, the mom buys it. She's very gullible.
Very gullible.
And she begins crying. I think the traumatic thing that happened to the kid in the first grade was the eye thing with the
she
ghost.
tells the story later about
Dude, that freaks me out.
It was a good story, and like I was like, oh, here we go, we're gonna get into some serious like ghost story. But it was so well done the way it was shot. There's so many continuous shots that follow them through the house that are amazing.
Once they get I love how the whole family basically just co-ops all of the jobs.
Right. So the dad becomes their driver.
But how they get him as the driver is a great part, because the sister just dumps her panties and puts them underneath the back seat. And then when Park finds it, and when Mr. Park finds it, he starts basically just believing that apparently his driver has been hooking up with people inside of his vehicle.
In his seat, like just because like for some power trip.
Like, does he just have like... Does he come harder knowing that he's coming on my leather or some shit?
Yeah, exactly. And but you know what? He had a moment there where he was like, but if you're going to be having sex in the back seat, there'd be like hair, there'd be earrings. Why would you leave your underwear behind? Mm-hmm. And then that's when they like whisper to each other, and we're supposed to like speculate about what they were saying, which is probably more along the lines of, oh, maybe they like weren't conscious. Maybe this guy's like a rapist. Maybe he's like not doing some good things.
Mm-hmm. And that's like, when they bring up the drugs.
That's when they bring up the drugs, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, drug!" And he's like, "You got like, shh, like you can't say that shit out loud in the house." And
like
then
she was talking about meth or cocaine or something that's just like something that fucks up people and they're incoherent.
And so that's when they decide to let him go. And then the sister is like, "Oh, I used to know this one guy who was a driver, aka her dad."
He's a veteran driver, though. He's actually a really good driver.
Actually is a good driver.
Yeah,
he actually knows how to do his job.
They go, like, the best part is because he's going to be driving a Mercedes-Benz, so he has to learn how the car operates.
I love this part.
So they go to a car dealership acting like they're going to buy a car, and he just does it so he can test out how the car works.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, nah, I guess we won't buy a car.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. This beginning of the movie where they're really good at what they're doing, makes me really question some of the actions that they did later in the film.
I agree.
Where it's like, I feel like you wouldn't just break apart like that, but it maybe just the stress of what was happening kind of made them do some bad decisions.
I think what it is just carelessness. It devolves into carelessness.
But like, that's what gets me about it, is that it's such a fucking rookie move, like you said, for them to like invite people over like that to like such a nice house.
But I mean,
all of them together.
In order to understand this, you have to see the lengths they go just to get the Kim's mom to be the new caretaker of the house.
That's right.
Basically.
Ooh. The thing is, they're practicing speeches for everything that happens. So so they actually have A and B conversations.
Yeah.
That like potential
that
things
match up.
that the family can say, and so they play a part on this. And there was one part where the dad was getting so much vigor and fucking like gusto, and he's like, "Dad, you're like." Yeah, you got to go to like
you
got
to bring it down.
He's like, okay. So explain how the mom gets in, because it's very intense.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So they find out that, all right, first off, the initial like tutoree, the daughter of the Parks, really likes peaches, but they haven't had peaches in a really long time. That's a big part as well. So they find out the reason why she doesn't have peaches is because their current caretaker, the current like housemaid, basically, is allergic to peaches or the fuzz on peaches.
Yeah.
So what they do is they go about scraping off the fuzz off peaches and sprinkling it on her skin when she's not looking.
Yeah, so she has a reaction.
She has a horrible allergic reaction. Then Kim, Father Kim, begins discussing how he's seen her coughing and hacking up things inside, and then tries to convince her she has tuberculosis, and the mother buys it.
Oh, yeah, he even sprays like hot sauce or ketchup onto a napkin she's tossed into the trash can to convince her that she's coughing up blood.
Yep.
That was the sprinkle on top, is what they said. They said, you get the blood on this. This is a sure
Yeah, it's surefire to make them believe in it.
Did you talk about how like they just like disintegrate the fuzz, or like they
they scrape it off and then they just sprinkle it on her.
Another great part is he took a selfie is what the thing is, and I thought it was just so weird. He's like, I took a selfie for my wife the other day.
It's such a selfie photo.
Yeah, it's not a selfie photo. And like he's like, is that I thought that was the caregiver back there. And you're like, She's like, why is she on the phone? He's like, I don't mean to intrude, but I heard the conversation. Yeah. And it's like, TB is such a out there fucking disease.
Yeah. She even said it. She's like, do people even get TB anymore? Like, what are you talking about?
It's weird. It's out there, but like it happens. And so they have to let go of the caregiver. However, the wife is not trying to tell Park that her children have been around someone with TB. So she tells Park that the person has quit. Yeah. And that they are looking for a new caregiver. But this is where it gets really subtle with the dad. So
yeah, he's in the car with him. He's in the car with the dad from the Kim family and then the dad from the Park family. He's driving him. And he's like, yo, I want to find a place that has braised ribs because the previous housekeeper used to cook them and she was really good at cooking that, so can we go find that? And then he's like, oh, you're looking for a new housekeeper. Well, there's this special company that hired me. And like they give him like a fake business card and he's like, oh, you can tell this is legit. And then I'm like the whole time knowing that it's fake. And so when the wife calls the number, the sister ends up picking up and is like, okay, I need all this info. She literally asks her for the deed of the house at one point, and it's like, okay, I got it. And like sends her all this info, and it's ridiculous.
All of this information,
it's
and
weird
then they're a shoe in, and then they get Mother Kim in there.
Yeah, and then the mom. So now the whole family's there, and this is when the family decides, or the Park family decides they're going to go on like a camping trip and leave the mom there to keep the house.
It's really funny because everyone's trying to keep their rhythm going as I'm a single person. Like I am not related to these people. Yeah. But there's like little quirks, like when when the new mom housekeeper comes in, she's giving peaches to people and they're like, oh, peaches finally. And then she does a little ear rub on the son because that's her actual son. And she's like, how's it going? And she's like, get the fuck out of here. And then she goes into the sister's room. She's like, you knock next time. Eat your peaches. Like the mom is obviously still the mom. But it's like super funny because she's trying to keep it on the wraps. You see the dad grab her butt as she's right. You see the dad grab her butt as he's bringing in groceries from Mr. Park, and it's just like all these little subtle things. That's like they're still a family, but they're trying to keep this show going so they could keep their spots and wealth.
it weirded me out because at the beginning you start feeling pretty bad for the family, for the Kim family. But then as the movie progressed and the film got even more complex, I started feeling less bad for them because they ended up just being sort of manipulative. It doesn't matter like if it was a rich family, but then like you also don't know how to feel because you're just like, it's a rich family, like they're fine, like it's not really a big deal, but it's still like there's still some like humanity you want to see in these people.
I mean, and they cause like undue amounts of stress on the original housekeeper as well.
Yeah, holy shit.
Like you're making her have an allergic reaction how many times?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty
house?
sure the mom kills her.
We have to
later on, yes.
We have to discuss the symbolic meaning behind the rock that was gifted to this family as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, from what I could find online, it was a thing that scholars used to do. They used to collect certain stones because of the minerals and the properties that they were made of. And then because of the place they found it, it was really significant. So they would give them as gifts to other people, and then it would be like a nice heirloom. But this particular one was weird because it was said to bring wealth to the family that it's given to. And so in a way, it was symbolic at the beginning because they got this sort of opportunity presented to them in this box, and they did really well for themselves. But then the rock is used to like bash the son's head in at one point.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't die from that, but he does get...
Eldest son of the Kim family.
So... the family entrusts all these people. The cogs are working. They're doing their thing.
Yeah.
They're getting paid a lot of money and obviously enjoying it because they're spending it to buy mass amounts of food on themselves.
Yeah. You know what? That was another thing that was really important. So they showed that when they got their money, they immediately spent it on food and not really anything else. Like, so they were almost showing the family to be kind of gluttonous in some point as soon as they got that money, as if like they didn't really deserve it. And so it was a weird feeling to see somebody getting money taken from them, and you sort of feel bad, but then you don't know if you should really be rooting for the Kim family.
It's also kind of weird because the son almost immediately has a thing with the daughter too.
Yeah, he like goes in and kisses her.
I think like the second day.
Yeah, it's like I think it's a little longer, but it's like their third or fourth meeting.
Man, they start texting and everything.
Yeah.
They start calling him Kevin.
Okay, so am I the only? Okay, so I wasn't sure if like she just decided that. Was she just like, we're gonna call you Kevin, and that was it?
Yeah, basically.
Did I understand that right? The mom was just like, yeah, we're gonna call him Kevin.
We'll just call him Kevin, yeah.
And then like no one else questioned it. It was really weird.
This could be like an allusion to the idea of viewing like, because Kevin's a pretty white person name,
right?
Just gonna say, and so it could just be like the envisioning of white people as being like the epitome of wealth and whatnot and status.
Oh, I see.
So you could say that they were just like, let's call him Kevin, and then he like he's like part of our group now. He's at the same status we're at, sort of idea.
Yeah.
And so even like the last name Mr. Park.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a Korean family here.
His last
taking the last
Park.
name as Park. Excuse you. Like
I did notice that too. One thing that I did really notice was that they used stairs to represent the difference in class societies.
Yes, you go up for the rich family's kids, and you go down for the lower classes basement.
Right, yeah. So the way that even just the way they entered their home, to get into the Park family house, you had to walk up.
Yep, I forgot about that.
To get in there, and then to get into the Kim family home, you had to go down into the basement. This is below ground level. And so they definitely use that as like a way. And then at some point, they escape out of the stairs. And and then that's like them like slinking out of this sort of class that they're not supposed to be inside of.
Ooh, that's a good read of that.
Yeah.
So the whole family has the whole family has co-opted the jobs of the house at this point. In this movie,
and the Park family has decided to go for camping trip.
And they started to go on a camping trip. And then during the camping trip, the biggest rookie move that these folks pull is bringing the whole damn family over.
And they all get drunk.
And they all get drunk, and they eat, and they all get fucked up, and they're just hanging out, having a good time. Like eldest son Kim is reading the daughter of the Park family's like diary and everything, just going through all her stuff and whatnot, being super nosy, like, and then they're all there.
They're all taking baths in the spa. They're all like, and like, I've never tried this liquor. I'll pour it with the others.
Yeah.
And then that's when the old housekeeper shows up and rings the doorbell repeatedly and is like, please, I forgot something in the basement. Like, can you please let me in? and they don't know what the fuck to do because they weren't expecting anybody to show up until the next day or maybe the day after.
Probably a bit longer than that, too.
Yeah, because they weren't expecting anybody probably for like a day or two. And so the mom is not sure what to do, so she just lets in the housekeeper, and she goes down to the basement, and this is when we find out that her husband has been living down there, and she's been taking care of him.
Yo, the descent into the basement is fucking creepy.
Yeah.
I was very, like, it was unnerving.
Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck they were going to find down there.
Well, she's like, how long is it taking her to, like, go get the thing that she goes in? And she goes into pitch darkness, too.
Yeah, that's such a great scene.
She just goes into the pitch dark, and you're like, dude,
you can't see down the stairs.
I honestly thought that the old housekeeper was going to murder the new housekeeper.
Yeah, same.
That's what I thought was going to happen. But then I'm surprisingly, she's just trying to open this hidden staircase that this bookcase that leads down to the hidden staircase.
It like slides over to the side to reveal this stairway that goes down.
And the whole family is hiding from this old housekeeper because they can't get caught in there. And then that's when she comes to find that there is the husband living under there, the woman feeding him frantically, like, oh my God, you almost could have killed him. And they're like, I had no fucking idea he was down here.
Yeah.
I'm going to call the cops.
Yeah, well, what happened is the old housekeeper, she tries to reason with the new housekeeper, the mom of the Kim family, to be like, hey, like, we're both, like, poverty-stricken, like, don't, like, rat me out, like, just, bring him some food, like, it'll be fine, like, I'll give you my money. And this is before she realizes that their entire family has kind of like infiltrated the Park family.
They all fall down the stairs really comically, actually.
Justine was like, this is a very Scooby-Doo moment, like, they all fall down and then they're like, oh God, they're like aching.
Yeah, the son's like, Dad, my ankle.
Yeah, like, what an idiot. And then that's when the old housekeeper pulls out her phone and is like recording them, and she's like, I'm gonna send this to the owner of the house, and she's going to find out that you guys are all related and, like, you guys are just scamming her. And so that's when they sort of take control of the situation. But before that, she was really trying to appeal to her to be like, hey, we're both, like, in the same situation. Like, we can help each other. But the Kim family mom is like, what? No, like, I'm not as poor as you, which is fucked up. She's really like, wow, you guys are, like leeching off this family's, like, all the extras that they have here. And it's, like, shaming her.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm the only one who could be a fucking parasite here.
Right, yeah. So it's like
exactly.
You find all these people who so basically each character in the movie is a parasite in their own way. Mm-hmm. Is just really what that title is about, and how they all sort of affect each other, and how they're all trying to live within the same, like, society that they're trying to get ahead in, like, all the aspirations.
It's a great, like, one of the great metaphors we have here is the metaphor for the upper class just being totally ignorant of the plights of the non-wealthy.
Anyone who's not as rich as them.
Yeah, exactly. And they just are totally gullible.
Yeah.
They're just oblivious to it. They're arrogant about it as well. I mean, one of my favorite scenes is when it begins raining.
Oof.
And the rains, like, flood the Kim house. And then, like, the next scene after all of this destruction from the rains and everything affects all of these other homes, the mother of the house is like, this rain was such a blessing.
Yeah.
And it's like that total dichotomy of, like, where they view the rain as like, oh, this is so nice and wonderful. And then for the people that have to actually deal with the problems that it brings,
it was
they have no idea.
life-changing for the Kim family, and then just a minor inconvenience for the Park family.
It's like the entire thing was flooded. Their house was destroyed.
Yeah.
The father's just grabbing artifacts and stuff. The sister goes into, like, a hidden thing and grabs cigarettes and just is on the toilet while it's spurting out sewage.
Yeah.
And just lights up a cigarette. I'm just like, dude, this is intense.
That's a
People are, like, drowning, and, like, stuff is just being completely swallowed by these waves. And then the next day, Mr. Kim's driving the mother, and she's just...
Well, she decides to have an impromptu party.
And she's so hyped on the nice weather because it rained last night, and now it's a clear, fucking beautiful day. And Mr. Kim is, like, PTSD shook from, like, just having to lose everything he's ever had.
Yeah, they're all feeling it. And then she's like, we should invite everybody, and invites, like, the whole family to partake in this party.
But before all of that happens, we should probably discuss how much of a power move the old caregiver is in, because she has this dirt on these people.
Yeah, so she continues to, like, well, she basically, like, forces them all into a corner and is just like, you're all going to stand there. So you're the mom, you're the dad, you're the son, you're the daughter, and it gets them to admit it on a video. And then she threatens them that she's going to send it to the owner of the house, to Miss Park. And at one point, the dad's like, fuck this. And so the Kim family dad runs at her and tries to get the phone away from her. And this is when all this chaos starts ensuing, where they are trying to get the phone away from them. And eventually they do get the phone away, and then they drag them away to the downstairs area, but not before getting a phone call from the Park family mom saying, "Hey, the rain kind of ruined our camping trip, so we're coming home right now."
That's the biggest inconvenience the rain makes for them is a camping trip. They just, we don't get to go there now.
Well, what's crazy is she's 8 minutes away. She's 8 minutes away from that house when she calls, and that place is a fucking mess because they've been trying to get this old housekeeper to give them the phone. Also, they had the giant mess from when they ate and all of the booze and everything, which they just throw off the table and put it underneath that main big table in there. And so they end up using that as a place to hide because they are not able to go anywhere else. And then they have to drag the two people downstairs back to that basement.
It's funny because the wife is saying, my son wants Ramdon.
Yeah.
He wants Ramdon. And he's like, what's wrong?
They have to Google it.
It's just like ramen. So she's like making ramen while they're trying to have the rest of the family clean up frantically. And that's when the...
oh my God, I missed that. Wait, I thought it was an actual meal. She was trying to say ramen?
Yeah.
Holy shit, she's so fucking rich, she didn't even know what, like...
Exactly.
Oh my
That's
God,
what I'm saying.
I didn't even realize that.
She's like, my son says he wants something called Ramdon. I guess if you cook it now, it'll be ready in like whenever we get there.
Yeah, okay.
Which is like, ramen takes 3 minutes to make. Supposedly, from the packaging and everything I've been in my experience, ramen does take 3 minutes. So, like, she was just trying to make ramen for the boy, and she didn't even know what the fuck that is because she's never had such shit food in her life.
Yo, I didn't even realize that. Holy shit. Yeah, that completely went past me. I thought she was requesting something special, but it was just regular ramen that the kid wanted. That's crazy. And then she does make it successfully, but what happens is the old housekeeper and her husband have to get dragged down to the basement and tied up. But the old housekeeper manages to get her way almost up the stairs, at which point,
screams, like, madam, and then the new housekeeper just fucking force kicks her all the way down.
Yo, she falls all the way back, gets a concussion, and then dies really shortly after because of that head trauma that she experienced, and she had like no medical attention.
The sound editing is so good in this point because it like muffles itself when she actually hits the wall. It's like a very light impact, but you're like, oh, she's definitely fucking dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she just dies from some brain damage and bleeding out.
I mean, the family gets there, the old caregiver just comes running up the stairs, and then the mom Kim just like nonchalantly just boots her down the stairs
while she's holding like the bowl.
Like just how she does it is just like, whoop, that problem solved, you know.
Even the husband's like, oh shit, like he notices her come tumbling down the stairs, which is really fucked up, but also really symbolic because this poor woman is trying to get out of her predicament, literally running up the stairs and gets thrown back down by another person who was probably in the same spot as her. So it's like this happens constantly where it's like all of the poor people are just fighting each other for a position, you know, where all of the rich people are that they just aren't letting them into, and so they're willing to kill each other for it. And so in that sense, she kills the old housekeeper to take her position, which is really fucked. And like they do that by using the stairs again as a representation. It's like a passage between the classes, between being rich and poor.
It is a good look on that because with most things in class systems, you have the lower class fighting each other instead of like teaming up to deal with the real problem being the higher ups, if you believe in that sort of dichotomy. Yeah,
no, totally. And then the rain itself too, like we've mentioned it in so many other films that we've talked about, but it always signifies some sort of change or cleansing or some sort of rebirth of something that's going to happen. And in this case, it was, I think, the Kim family realizing that they're sort of like in a hopeless predicament. Like they're always going to be struggling to get out of that class because it's just not so easy to move in and out of the class systems. And then it becomes more apparent to him when like the incident that happens later on is like the Park dad really does not give a fuck about his family at all.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, he even explains to his wife, because that's the thing, when they come home, they talk about Mr. Kim.
Yeah.
But, like, what I was about to say is right before they do the Indian thing, he's like, okay, you're going to do this for your wife because you love her. And he just kind of looks at him like, again with this guy? Like,
yeah, he's like, nah, it's more along the lines of, like, I just like my kid and, like, I want them to have, like, a cool thing. But I don't think he really cares for his wife. Or he was, like, in an arranged marriage or something.
Here's the thing, though. They talk about Mr. Kim on the couch because they come home and the son wants to do a camping trip. He still wants to, so he brings down his little Indian hut that he has.
Yeah, that was so weird.
And it's made by the Americans, so it's gonna work.
That was super funny. I feel like that was just a joke on U.S. products where they were like, "Oh, it's U.S. It's not gonna like leak. Like, don't worry about it." And I was like, "What the fuck? All right."
And then he's like, "I want to camp out here. I got the walkie-talkies. Okay, cool. Well, I guess we'll just stay down here and just look at him."
And like inches away, underneath this table, is the entire family except for the mom. And they are just hiding, waiting for their chance to get out of the house.
And the girl is like texting Kevin, and like he's like trying to like muffle his phone so it won't get fucking caught.
The mom even passes by and coughs as to be like, "Yo, like turn your phone down. Like it's probably gonna buzz or vibrate or something," which is fucking nuts. And this is also weird because the park parents have a sexual encounter like right next to them.
Yep.
Yeah, after talking about Mr. Kim's smell, he just like starts massaging her boob, and she's like, "I don't know about this."
Well, what's funny is that like at one point he's like, "Yo, do you still have those like dirty panties that you found earlier like in my car?" And then she's like, "Yeah, you're gonna go buy me drugs." Like I'm just like, what the fuck is this like sex play that they're doing
exactly.
right here?
Like, yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, you're gonna be so
like a fucking
dirty,
drug dealer.
and you're just like,
buy me drugs, buy me drugs.
Yeah, I was like, this is fucking weird.
Yeah.
But they didn't even like. Well, they probably did have sex, but they didn't show it.
Like
but it's still an odd moment.
I mean, it's like they're fetishizing the lives
lower,
of
the lower class.
Yeah, they're fetishizing being the lower class essentially,
which is fucking
which
weird.
is exactly what the Kim family's doing. They like kind of fetishize the idea of being rich as well. Yeah. Which makes more the actions of Mother Kim a lot more interesting to me, where I feel like it's her the way that she pushes that other woman down the stairs. She just wants to be as uncaring as they are.
Yeah.
In that very moment, like the facial expression says it all, like the actions, the body language and everything says it. So it was really, really, really good that how they played that out.
They made sure to tie up both of them and tape them together, and then they lock them in there and they leave the house.
Right. So they actually successfully get out before that party.
Like you said, they slink away like cockroaches with light on them.
I love that analogy that the mom talks about. She's convinced that her husband would just be really scared if the family showed up and would just run away like how cockroaches run away when you turn on the lights. And he fakes being mad at that point. He like throws things off the table, and the son's like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "Aha, you believe me?" And like was just joking with him. But like I think for a moment there he was actually pissed. He was like, "Why are you calling me a fucking cockroach?" And then just played it off and was like, I'm just acting." And then like even the mom is like sort of a little bit shaken by that moment. So it's like it's an odd thing that happens at that dinner.
So after that occurs, the rain scene ensues. They lose everything.
Then they got called back.
The mom is hyped on the rain, though. And that's when the son makes sure to grab the giant, what is it? College stone?
I think it was a scholar stone.
Scholar stone. Yeah, he brings the scholar stone to the house. But this is when they have to do the impromptu party. So it's just cuts of Mr. Kim on the shopping thing. He's going to get overtime today. So they're going to get liquor, going to get food, going to get
sets up
stuff.
All this big party for all these rich people who are just awful.
Yeah,
they're all. What's great about this scene is that nobody gets introduced, so they don't take any time to tell you who these people are. You just see them kind of show up. They're enjoying themselves. There's a lady singing like opera at one point or whatever the hell she's singing.
Got a giant cello player.
Yeah, giant cello just playing, and then they're like all laughing and enjoying. They don't even notice the bloodied man who walks out of the fucking basement because they're too occupied with their like scene that they're doing there.
So how does this occur? I believe the sun is going down. Oh, that's the thing. He was making out with the girl.
Yeah, and she's like, "You're distracted. Like, what's going on?" He's like, I don't know, man. I just lost my whole fucking house, but I can't tell you.
Right.
In it, that as well as I got to go down there. And she's like, "Oh, you don't have to go down there." But he's like, in his head, he's like, "I have to go down there."
Yeah.
Because he has to deal with the fucking two people.
Ooh, that's good. I didn't even notice that one. Yeah, you're right. He was talking about going to the basement, not going down and meet all the people.
Yes.
He even asks her, though. He's like, "Do I seem like the kind of person who fits in to like this area?" And then her answer is not convincing. She's just like, "Well, yeah, I guess." Like she really doesn't think about these kind of things because she grew up in that.
She just wants someone to make out with.
Right. She's obsessed. She's a little bit younger, so it's like she doesn't really know what's going on.
So that's when he takes the scholar stone down. I believe he's trying to finish the job.
Probably, most likely. Yeah, that's true. If he did bring down the stone like that, he was probably gonna kill somebody. But then he gets fucking. Oh my god, this is such a good scene because the husband His wife has died. So he grabs like some wiring from the wall and like puts it around his neck and drags him all the way back to like
puts
one
it
of
in
the
between pipes.
Yeah, to try to hold him there so he can like fucking kill him. And then he manages to break free and run up the stairs. But then the top of the stairs, he has like this wire dragging behind him. The wire is grabbed, and then the dad throws the huge stone at his head, and he's like bleeding out on the ground. You think he's dead at that point.
I thought he was fucking KO'd.
I don't know how he survived that.
Because he gets a second one too.
Yeah, he gets fucking that thing thrown at his head.
So this guy is he's technically the homeless man, but it's the guy that's been living underneath the basement. He opens the giant thing, just chugs a giant thing of water.
Well, no, it was plum something.
Oh,
it was fermented plums.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we also missed is the reason the husband's down there is because he's running from debtors.
Yeah, he got in deep with loan sharks.
Yes,
who were trying to find him to collect on the debt, and he just had to disappear, so he ended up living down there. That's a good point. Yeah,
it's a big point. It's a big point.
And then at this point, that's when he enters through the thing. Mr. Kim and Mr. Park, they're going to be surprise Indians for this little thing, and they manage to get the daughter Jessica to bring the cake that is supposed to stop the little boy's trauma. Is what they describe it as. It's like a trauma-free cake.
Yeah,
like it's supposed to stop his trauma.
It's like one of the most like rich people things you could probably do. Of just like, we're gonna make this cake. It's gonna be named this. It's got to be you though. Like, you're gonna be the one to do it, and convince her to take it out. And it fucking sucks because she goes out there, and the husband who just like probably murdered the son, but he didn't actually murder him. He goes out there and he fucking stabs her.
Yeah, he just runs and
with
immediately
the fucking kitchen knife.
her. And I'm like, oh shit.
This movie escalates so crazy at some points, and this is one of those moments.
The action shots in this scene alone are pretty great. So then we got people frantically screaming, and at this point, Mr. Park and Mr. Kim are running out of the bushes to do the cake thing.
Yeah.
But then they realize that the daughter gets stabbed, so Mr. Kim is running to her aid. And then that's when
the son of the Park family has like a seizure or like freaks out basically.
Yeah, he like faints.
Yeah. And so you see the Park family dad grab his son and run over. But this is the moment where you really realize that there is a class difference and that Mr. Park does not give a fuck about him, because he demands that Mr. Kim drives him to the hospital while his daughter's bleeding out in his arms.
He says, "Throw me the keys." Mm-hmm. Like he's going to do it himself and leave him here with all of the bullshit and just ignore the other person that just got stabbed.
Yeah.
Basically. So,
and then
that's when the mom's freaking out. You have to put pressure on the wound.
Yeah.
You have to do this. I'm like, they're blowing their cover somewhat.
Well, he throws the keys and they land underneath the thing is, the husband who just came out, and he like rolls him over, grabs the keys, and leaves. He doesn't give a fuck about this guy.
The thing is, what threw him over the edge is that he was looking back at all the times that the guy was talking about his smell.
Yep.
And then he's rolling over this guy. That's the thing. The guy also tries to kill his mom. Or the Kim mom. He like definitely is on top, almost forcing that knife, and she takes a skewer filled with like
that's
bratwurst
crazy,
and just stabs him in the abdomen.
Yeah.
The dude also like slashed at the cello player. Did you see that?
Yeah, he cut his stomach open.
Yeah.
So there's probably another person who was injured. I don't think he was dead though.
Yeah, but none of them matter. Only the one in the family matters.
This is when they roll over the dead guy because the keys are on there. They throw the keys to him, and then you see this thing where the guy is like, no, he doesn't throw the keys. He's like, I'll just do it myself. And like, as soon as he lifts up the dead guy, Mr. Park,
he makes a fucking smell, like a disgusted face of the smell that's coming off of him.
Yeah, and that's when Mr. Kim is thrown overboard.
Yeah, fucking stabs the Park dad.
I was not expecting that.
Me neither. I was not expecting that either. I didn't think he would put himself in that situation, but he totally does.
Because they could have went with this.
Yeah, exactly.
They could have went with everything.
But he just realized that their families are just too different, and that he didn't want to be stuck in that situation of just having to always be underneath this guy's thumb.
Mr. Park is dead. Everyone's freaking out and running. The cops are called, and that's when he slinks away.
Yeah, they don't know where he goes at first, and then it becomes it is revealed that he is hiding in the basement underneath the house, and that the Park family moves out, and that a new German family moves in, and that the dad is going to just continue to live there because he's a murderer, and they need to find him, but they would never guess to look in the same house that this person was murdered in.
after this scene, it's when they explain that they were just they got fucked up with the court issue for like what was it like
Oh, the
forgery.
Yeah, they get probation. The mom and the son basically get probation for forging all the documents and for doing things like that. And then the daughters died.
I will say the scene that starts with this, it's the main son character narrating this as he opens up. He's like, the first person I saw was this detective who reads in his Miranda rights, and he starts laughing. And he's laughing. Do I start over? And he's like, with what? The Miranda rights thing. He's like, that happens with people with brain surgery. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to do it again. You have and he just fucking burst out laughing. And he's like, I can't fucking do this, man. He keeps laughing at me. And then,
it's a really young cop too. Yeah. Really young detective.
Some of the other interesting things that happened before this is the changing of language. From Korean to English. There's very subtle ones. Like I remember specifically the mom being like, you know what I mean? She says it just like that. She
also says, I'm deadly serious.
Yeah, exactly. I'm English. Deadly serious. Yep. And
They use English in this film to be very direct or to kind of have a double meaning to whatever they're talking about. And this is true for any other country who speaks English. Anytime somebody wants to speak very directly, they'll speak in English because that's just the way the language is built.
And then after that, the thing is they're trying to discuss. They're saying like, oh, the detectives are getting sloppy. They're like trying to tail us, but there's nothing for us. We don't even know.
There's a scene where one falls over.
Yeah, he falls over, following him.
It's just like, yeah, we don't know where my dad is, but you know what? Every now and then I go up to this mountain and I look into the house with these binoculars. Yep. And there was one time where he was just like, I just stayed there all night just to see how it is because it was another lifetime for him, technically.
Yeah, he ends up seeing the light blinking and realizes that the dad is sending out a Morse code message.
Mm-hmm. It's a very long letter.
Yeah.
He does it every night, hoping that his son will receive the message.
Which he does. And the son comes up with a plan that he's going to try to purchase the house and try to get upwards mobility so that he can repurchase the house and save his dad. And you actually do get this scene later, and then you realize that it's just a plan that he hasn't put into motion yet.
It is a dream.
It's very much like that hope that he's trying to have for like him and his family.
The continuous idea that wealth will absolve our crimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like literally, that's the idea. Like if we get this house, my dad will be safe, and he'll no longer be. They won't look for him anymore totally. Because you know.
Well, I mean, what's crazy is that the movie goes full circle. The ending is where they started.
Yeah, it ends with the socks.
Yeah, exactly. The shot of the socks.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's such a good representation of like, they're not going to go anywhere. Chances are he's never going to buy it. The dad's probably going to die down there because of their situation. And he can't really ever leave because he's being looked for a murder. So it's like, they're kind of like one of the interesting articles that I read was that their interpretation was the Parasite for the entire movie was their hope because it took like they were just trying to get out of their financial and class system and they couldn't break free from any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good read on it. And I genuinely thought that this movie was going to end on a high note, you know?
They fake you out.
I thought the dream sequence was real. I was like, wow, it's been a long time where I've had a good ending. And then I'm like, he just has to make the power happen within himself, and it's up to him.
Nope.
At the same time, you don't know.
It's very bleak.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of like his thing. He doesn't really have happy endings to his movies.
They go back to folding pizza boxes, right?
I think so. I don't remember. I think so. But like the mom and the son, they kind of reclaim their house and fix everything back up again. And then they end up living there again, but it's just them two because the dad is there and the sister has died.
It just, I don't know. I also thought that the thing with the younger Park sister just never resolved. Like I like they had a relationship throughout the entire movie, but it never acted upon like, oh yes, I would never see her again or something like that. You know, it just never.
Yeah, they kind of just left it out.
Yeah. And I think after that trial case, it's just like, yeah, you're never seeing him.
I would guess, yeah, she's like, we're not ever, like, we're probably leaving the country. Like, the mom and the daughter probably just
Mom's
went
probably traumatized.
Else.
The boy is definitely traumatized.
Yeah,
he has more trauma.
Watching someone get stabbed. So it's like,
more trauma cakes.
I mean, I guess, I don't know what happens when your husband dies. Like, does she just get all of his shit? Like, all his money?
Most likely.
They're married. I don't know. They don't explain anything about that. They really want you to see the, like, bad position that the Kim family is still stuck in, no matter what they did for the whole film. And he's very good at doing that. It's also realistic. Like, this isn't like a movie, like anything, like almost everything about this movie is pretty believable. Like, this is something that totally could have happened. With the exception of maybe like, it's kind of wild to think that there'd be somebody living in your basement for like 40 years. And it kind of creeps me out for like larger houses. But it's like, that could happen. That could probably happen. Mm-hmm. And so they did a good job of turning that into horror in itself, where it's like the kid's horror was this thing slinking out of the bottom of the basement, which is really just a guy coming up for food. But like in his eyes, it terrified him and like caused him all this trauma and whatnot. So it's like, it's kind of funny because they pose it as the poor people becoming a horror to rich people in every sense of the way, and they end up being parasites in their life. So it's like they did it, they just kept putting on layers of this class difference over and over and over again, and like drove the point home at the very end when the dad stabs the other dad and is just like in a worse situation, and the other family's fine. Like, they just end up moving away. And the thing is that there's what they did at the end there was that there's always another rich family and there's always another poor family.
Yep.
And like, this is sort of like a situation that everyone is dealing with. And so he did a really good job, the director, of reminding you that like, this isn't just a one single thing that happens to one family. It's like happening all over, especially in like dense urban areas where they're trying to like just get by and they have to live in these terrible places.
Yep. And have to do despicable things to try to even get on their level, even remotely there. It's a great critique of the wealthy class, of the class struggle in general.
Yeah.
I really like this movie.
I liked it too. I think, I do think that it had really good pacing at the beginning, but then became a little bit directionless in the middle. But it did pick up in the end and kind of conclude their story. I don't know if I was just maybe wanting it to be a little shorter.
I feel like it was struggling with how to end itself.
Yeah.
At the end there, I feel like the family it like ruined my suspension of disbelief just a little bit. To be fair, I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Like, from beginning to end, I really did. But like towards a certain point, I was like, this movie seems like it's struggling a little bit with how to end, and it wanted something else to happen at the ending there, and it seemed like a very like out there and climactic. I think the family maybe turned on the housekeeper a little bit too quickly. Like, you'd think there'd be like some level of empathy from some of them.
I mean, yes and no. Yes, because you want them to be human and you want them to care for these people, but also no, because they're rich and they don't give a fuck about the help.
The tagline of the movie is act like you own it, or
is
something
it really?
like that. Like on the poster. It says
I didn't realize that.
On the poster it says, and I quote, I just pulled this up. It says, act like you own the place.
Nice.
So that is what they're just trying to do.
Yep.
Because they were talking about like the foreshadowing. Oh, if you marry this daughter, we could be their in-laws. We'll have someone fake play the father and mother, and then bam, we could be the in-laws of such a great house, and we could live here. And they're like, live here? We're already living here. So they are trying to act like they own it, and they're trying to act like, hey, we are into these lives. Let's just play it out. So that's what it is. I really like this film. I want to recommend it to a lot of people. I think it's deserving of the rewards that it's getting.
Oh, totally.
Oh, absolutely.
And for me, I don't know. The thing is, like, I feel like I could watch this movie a couple times and enjoy it every time. Stuff. And the thing is, compared to like some other films, I kind of want to say that this might have been my favorite movie from 2019 now.
Oh, shit.
I might change my list on that one.
I'm still in love with The Lighthouse.
That's the thing. That's what it's up against for my competition. Yeah. It's like the A24 films, and then this one, they're like all head to head.
Shit, yeah, that's right, huh? Hereditary, The Witch.
No, I mean, like, not even just that. Like Midsommar and Uncut Gems came out. I mean,
shit, those are all really good.
Yep.
Yeah, so they've been pumping out some good movies.
Yep, Parasite is a great film though, and you should definitely go check it out.
Yeah, and also check out his other films. He's made quite a lot of films.
Snowpiercer's really dope.
Fucking Snowpiercer's so great because it's straight up about revolt. Like, it's like class revolt against the upper class.
Interesting. We seem to be seeing a common theme here.
Right, I know. He's mentioned that he definitely wants to talk about the class system because of the formalities of the way that they were presented in different countries, especially in Korea or in South Korea, of how, like, there's all these formalities of meeting each other. You can't act a certain way if you're part of a certain class system. So he always wants to make commentary on that. And he knows currently the United States is kind of going through their own class struggle. So he always likes making films that are relatable in that way. He has a lot of interviews that are really good. he kind of explains his reasoning and why he did certain things in films. And he writes all of his stuff in Korean and then uses a translator. He like sits with the translator to get exactly what he wants. But was there any other final thoughts for the movie?
It's 10 out of 10. Go watch it.
Yeah, I'd say go watch it. It's worth a rewatch too.
Oh, absolutely worth a rewatch. 2 watches. Give it 2 watches or more.
Yeah, because there's a lot of subtle things that are included into the film, and it's really well done. So I would say it's definitely worth the time to go. Is it still in theaters?
Or
is it? It's out now, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's in theaters.
Because it was
anymore.
it was really limited in the theater release, and then it got released for like straight to DVD. So I'm not exactly sure for something like that. But either way, before I let everybody go, we're super easy to find. We're on all the streaming services, so you can find us on the main one, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, as well as iHeartRadio and SoundCloud. You can also find us at our website. We actually have an official website now, which you can find at the Instagram. So if you go to our Instagram, it's BDTGH_podcast, and the website will be linked there, and you can actually listen to the podcast within that website. It won't take you anywhere else. And so if you could please leave a review on the Apple Podcast, it helps us get viewed on the site more easily, and it improves our ratings for anyone who goes to the site. But that's pretty much it. I hope everyone has a good night. Thanks, guys, for coming out to talk with me about this film.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Mur.
And I'm Jonathan. Thank you.